Yo, what's happening everyone? It's your boy here, Abdurrahim. We're back again today with another great amazing tech video. Well, the video of today it's all about the Tecno Phantom X2 series. Well, this kind of phone captured me at the first glance. I saw it and I was like, damn, this phone is really good. But let us just talk about it and explore what features it has, because it might be released on this month or the next month probably. So for further ado, let us just have a look at this phone and experience what's packed. First thing first, let's talk about the specification which it has. Well, this kind of phone comes with the MediaTek Dimensity of 9000 processor, which it's really kind of vibrant, because this kind of processor, it competes with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, a little bit closer, but a little bit like they're challenging here and there, so it's quite not bad. Another kind of stuff throughout this kind of phone, it has an AMOLED display, which is a 6.8 inches AMOLED display, and it has a 120 Hz refresh rate, which it's really kind of vibrant throughout this phone. And another kind of stuff, it comes with two variants throughout specification, because there's a X2 and the X2 Pro, which I find it throughout all of them, one has a perfectly kind of well designed and the other in hand has a meh design, not quite bad. On the display side, another kind of stuff, it has a Corning Gorilla Glass, which it's really kind of great. And throughout here, it has a bezel-less with a punch hole display, which it's perfect. I can say it's a perfect thing throughout this phone. Talking about the camera side, well, it has a 64 megapixel wide angle camera and a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera and a 2 megapixel depth camera, and it has an LED flash with a 4K 30 frames per second video recording, which is really quite not bad. On the front camera, it has 32 megapixel wide angle camera, which is perfect. On the Tecno X2 Pro has a 50 megapixel wide angle camera and a 50 megapixel telephoto camera with a 2.5 times optical zoom and a 13 megapixel ultra wide angle camera. It has the same spec when it comes to video recording, which is 4K at 30 frames per second video recording, which is really awesome, and front facing camera 32 megapixel wide angle lens and a full HD 30 frames video recording, which is perfect. Talking about the battery capacity, well, it has 5160 milliamp of battery on the Tecno X2 and 45 watts supercharging and a USB Type-C port, and it supports nano SIM card. Let's talk about the storage capacity on the Tecno Phantom X2. Well, it comes with a 64 GB of storage with a 4 GB of RAM, with a 128 GB of storage with a 4 GB of RAM, and a 256 GB of storage with an 8 GB of RAM. On the other hand, when it comes to the Tecno Phantom X2 Pro storage capacity, well, it has a 64 GB of storage and a 4 GB of RAM and a 128 GB of storage with a 4 GB of RAM, plus 256 GB of storage and a 12 GB of RAM, which is quite not bad. And another kind of stuff, they're both having the same specification all around, and they're really great. Now, there's only one thing which differentiates between the Tecno X2 Pro and the Tecno X2 Phantom. They're both Phantom phones. Now, throughout this kind of differentiation, the Phantom X2 Pro has a motorized camera. I mean, at the back, the camera bumps a little bit out and it comes in, which I kind of find that kind of feature motorized, meh, it's a little bit like a gimmicky, because if they could just maintain the same feature throughout the camera, because the additional throughout popping up the camera is just a feature to showcase that the camera is popping up, but the downside is, what if I have dust on my pocket and you know, it's a motorized, right? Small dust gets inside the camera segment. Well, it's gonna be a little bit of disaster. But when it comes throughout differentiation, both of the phones, they are all having the all specs around, so it's a little bit hard to recommend this kind of phone, because the specification, they're both like a little bit like differently. And another kind of stuff which got my attention in a little bit is the body. The body form factor, it's a little bit different. The camera, it's really big at the back, which they could maintain a little bit smaller camera like you see on the 11T Pro, Xiaomi 11T Pro. They just kept it a little bit simple. But on Tecno X2 Phantom, it's a little bit bigger. If it's throughout the way they just showcase, I don't know, it's because of the pictures I see and the commercial videos I see, it's just gigantic on the camera side. But when it comes to throughout the physically of the phone, well, I'm expecting a little bit like something really premium. But we all know these phones, they're budget phone, they're not that much high-end. But this one, it's a little bit seems to be like their high-end most phone, which still it's not a high-end most phone, because 45 watts of charging, it's a little bit slower. I wish they could just, on the Pro version, like the Xiaomi 11T Pro here has 120 watts of charge. Man, it's freaking fast. But on Tecno, still these guys, they're pushing 45 watts. I think it's a downside. It's a little bit downside. I wish they could just push it more. It's quite not bad. On the camera side, I can say it's a tie because there's a normal version, the X2, and there's the X2 Pro, which offers you much more capability on the camera side. But still, I find this kind of phone, it's hard to recommend. But if someone wants this kind of phone, I'll recommend to get the 256GB plus the 12 GB of RAM. On the X2, if you want to grab it, at least grab the 8 GB of RAM. The 4 GB of RAM, just forget about it. It's just gonna be crazy. And another kind of stuff, I wish these phones from Tecno, they could just switch a bit through MediaTek to go a little bit with Snapdragon. And another kind of stuff, why am I not usually toss out these Tecno videos anymore, is because first thing first, these kind of phones, they usually don't get any upgrade through the software. That's the only downside. If they could just get more support through their OEM and push more updates and we get the latest Android, I think it's gonna be really cool. And when you talk about a premium phone, well, it's really well packed. I can tell you Xiaomi has mid-range phones, which sometimes you look at it and you say, damn, this is not a mid-range phone, this is a premium phone. But Tecno is still behind. I understand it's a budget phone made for a certain group of people, but trust me, there are people perhaps they would like to put their hands on it perfectly. So if you just change the narration, or you can change the specs and give it more differently, it will be sparking more awesome. I believe on that. So that's my kind of review, and that's kind of my suggestion throughout this phone. It's a really nice phone, to be honest, quite not bad, but it's hard to recommend. That's what's up, guys. Up to on the next one, is your boy here, Abdurrahim113. Catch you guys on the next tech video. You're new here, consider subscribing to your homeboy here. I really appreciate on that. Last but not least, guys, peace.